Hello everyone, this is Ryan from the Green Dragon Gaming Club. Without us, they never feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. Um, my name is Ryan. Like I said, I'm Pretty Boy up on the Ninth Age website. Um, the Green Dragon Gaming Club is a great group of guys. We're really getting into the Ninth Age. We're looking to get more people involved, so if you're in Southern Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Westchester area, look us up, send us a message. We'll see if we can try to get a game in with you. Normally Mark does these battle reports. I'm doing one today of a game that I had with Vince, who's a friend of mine and also a member of the Green Dragon Gaming Club. We decided to do 1,500 points because he had work the next morning, so we wanted to keep it short. I made a fluffy all-goblin list that I wanted to try out. It kind of has like a hunting theme to it, because he was either going to bring Sylvan Elves or Beast Herds, so I figured they kind of wander too far outside of their caves into the woods and they run into one of those armies. And he ended up bringing Sylvan Elves. He's actually like converting an entire army of Sylvan Elves to be wolf-themed. And you'll see in a couple pictures that they're starting to look really good. He's taken like the wild huntsmen and put them on wolves instead of stags, and he has a character on a giant wolf. So we did 1,500 points. We just decided to do a simple classic deployment and hold your ground as the objectives. This is my list. You just hit pause to look through it real quick. The one thing I will say though is I did want to try out a couple characters on Cave Gnashers, and I think they work really well together as a unit because they skirmish, and on top of that they have hard target, so they're very difficult to shoot at, and they pack a lot of punch, and they still have good mobility, and they can always separate from each other if they have to. And I also took a massive, just the biggest unit of cave goblins I could. So this is the board. There was one forest, because he's a Sylvan Elf player, he gets another forest. He put it in his deployment zone on the left. We've got like the idol of the green gods is impassable terrain. We have ruins in the middle, a water feature, a hill, and then top right is a house with a wall next to it. And in the middle, I just put that. It's like a little objective marker with goblins fighting over it. All right, so these are spells. I had a level 2 with a Dispel Scroll. That was it for my magic, so I took Evil Eye and Blessing of the Mother Spider. He had a level 2 with Tomb of Arcane Lore out of Wilderness, so he took Beast Within, Inner Rage, and then he took the Monstrous Transformation spell. Alright, so this is my deployment. On my left flank here, I have my Gargantula Spider, and I have my Giant. In the middle, I just have my giant horde of cave goblins with 3 of my characters in it, my generals in it, my BSB, and my shaman. Right next to them, I have a unit of grotlings. I had extra points left over, and I figured I could use the chaff. And then all the way on the right, I have my 2 characters on Cave Gnashers. They're being proxied for this game with Gnasher wrecking teams, but the guy that's the one that's yellow and that has a goblin riding on top, that's the Lord level character. The green one is the hero level character with the Skull Splitter shotgun. And then this is Vince's left flank, and I'll go over his list real quick. So his general is a chieftain on it's supposed to be like a giant stag. He has him on a giant wolf, and he's joined to a unit of 6 wild huntsmen. And then in front of them is a unit of Heath Riders. Then towards his center, he has a unit of 3 Treekin, what we're called Treekin. I'm not sure what they're called now. And then he has like a Treekin character in there, and it gives them +1 strength. So those guys are strength 5 now, as well as being toughness 5, which is pretty nice. And then he's got a unit of archers sitting in the woods with his mage. They didn't have any upgrades. They didn't have like the black arrows or anything like that. Then next to them he had an eagle. Then he had a unit of dryads with a matriarch in there. The matriarch gives them hatred, another really good synergy character. Then he's got a unit of Sisters of the Thorn, represented by those those deer there, and then all the way on his right side he has another unit of Heath Riders. After Vanguards, I just move the Grotlings up a little bit. He moves his Heath Riders up. And then, because I have the Crown of the Cavern King on my Goblin King, my Horde of Goblins just Vanguards to the center. Now, I don't normally do this, but because I had so few drops in this game, I decided just to throw my whole army down first. So I definitely was going to get first turn, and that's nice. I get to Vanguard with them, and then I get to move them up too, and try to get everything in position. Vanguard's up over there. Alright, so this is my first turn. I move my characters on the Cave Gnashers up a little bit. All I really want to do, because I don't have a ton of shooting, is I want that guy with the Skull Splitter shotgun to try to take out a couple Wild Huntsmen. And if they can frenzy bait them, that's great too. The Grotlings over here kind of move closer to the ruins. I don't want him to have an easy charge on them, and they could sit there and maybe chap something up if I need to. The Goblins move up, the Giant moves up, the Spider moves up a little bit. I want the Goblins with bows to shoot at those Heath Riders, because the angle that he's at, if they lose a couple guys and he panics, they'll be off the board, so that'd be nice. In Magic, I do get the Blessing of the Mother Spider off on the Spider to give them poison. Again, trying to see if I can get lucky and get them to panic off the board turn 1. So in shooting, the guy with the Skull Splitter does take off one Wild Huntsman, which is awesome. The Forest Goblins, I think, only do 1 wound onto the Heath Riders, but Heal Armor saves it, so no luck there. Yep, and so this is a picture of the Sylvan Elves turn 1. His Heath Riders come around behind my lines just to give support, maybe chaff something up, do a little bit of shooting. Because Wild Huntsman, he doesn't really move much. He's just trying to, I think, feel things out. Then in the middle, he's trying to surround my horde. He moves the eagle up to chaff them, which is a really good move on his part. The archers stay where they are, but the Sisters of Thorn come over for support. The Dryads are moving in. His Treekin are moving in, trying to get my goblins to do something, put them in a bad spot. He does move his Treekin hero out of the unit, though, and I think he's moving him over that way to try to corner my characters on Cave Gnashers with his Wild Huntsman. And then the Heath Riders over here get out of dodge and go around, and they'll take some pot shots. So that's that. That's just a nice picture of the board. So in Magic, I shut down the other spells he tried to get off. He was able to get Curse of the Wildwood off on the Giant. I'm not too concerned about it. He's not going to be in combat on my turn, and if I want to march with him, I'll take the 1 Dangerous Terrain test. I'm not overly concerned with it. In shooting, however, he does get a wound off with his archers on the Giant. And despite being a -2 to shoot before any other modifiers, and then like my guy has like the Lucky Shield and all this other stuff, he has a ward save, he does get a wound off on my hero on the Cave Gnasher. So that was pretty impressive. Alright, turn 2, Goblins. So my characters basically sit where they are. He doesn't have any easy charges on them. I'm still making him take frenzy checks. I still want to whittle down those Wild Huntsmen. The what are they called? The little snotlings, the little grotlings, excuse me. The little grotlings move over behind the Heath Riders, and they'll just throw stuff at them and maybe like stab one with a fork or something. I don't know. Just try to get them down. Over here, I charge the eagle because otherwise I would have been chaffed up all game, and he does something I didn't expect. He fled with the eagle. So I'm obviously not going to try to chase after it. I tested to redirect. And my goblins have Swift Stride because of their banner. The BSB has the banner that gives them Strider and Swift Stride, the Stalker standard. It was a 9-inch charge to get into the Dryads, a 9-inch charge to get into the Archers, or is a 6-inch charge to get into the Treekin. And 9 is about average for Swift Stride, but I didn't want to take the chance charging the Archers, which were an easy target, and then get pincered. Same with the Dryads, because if I fail, then the Treekin are going into the rear. So that was almost a walk-in charge to charge the Treekin, and I think with all the static res, I should be able to win combat and hopefully break them. He doesn't have his character in there. And then I'm going to march that giant up just in case I can't break them, because at least the giant will block the dryads from charging into the flank or the rear. So I do get into the Treekin there. And I do march my giant up because now the dryads can't complete that wheel. I'm not really worried about the archers so much. The spider's going to come around the impassable terrain and just force his units to move towards the center. The grotlings actually kill one of the Heath Riders, which was pretty cool. Alright, so this die is representing, we're in combat now. He shuts down my magic. I rolled a 1 when I tried to throw nets onto his Treekin. So that was a great start. Hoping to bring him down to strength 4 instead I made myself strength 2. I needed 6s to wound anyway, but still. His Treekin go, he kills 5 goblins, which I thought was a little below average. He has 9 attacks and then 3 stomps, but yeah, he killed 5. And yeah, so I have so many attacks with this unit because I'm fighting in 2 ranks to begin with, and then Horde formation gives me an extra rank, and then I have a Goblin General that has the green tide, so you can fight an additional rank after that. So I just have so many attacks, I'm going to get some through, and I did 2 wounds to him, and then I had like 3 ranks, charge, banner, BSB, and he lost by like 3 or 4, and he broke. I ran, I swift stride, I chased him down, and because my unit's so wide, I was able to clip his character in the flank. So this is looking really good for me right now in the center. Turn 2, Sylvan Elves. Yeah, his Wild Huntsman realized that he's losing ground in the center, so they move over and stop their stare down with my characters on Cave Gnashers. Over here, he doesn't really do much with the Heath Riders. He just kind of keeps them there. His Dryads charge into the Giant. I was thinking about fleeing with them, but I was hoping that maybe the Giant would live with like a wound or 2 left and be able to do a bunch of damage to those Dryads and just hold them up, because he'll be stubborn 10. We'll see what happens there. His archers move up to try to shoot stuff. The Sisters of Thorn move up to support with magic. His Heath Riders, again, are just moving around, take some pot shots, and possibly chaff things up later. And his Eagle rallies, hooray! With shooting, his archers managed to do a wound to the grotlings. And yeah, unfortunately, the Dryads do 4 wounds to the Giant, so he had 1 wound left, and then his Matriarch goes and manages to do exactly 1 wound, killing him. So he didn't even get to attack, which was sad, but I went with a conservative play, because if his Treekin had held and the Dryads came into the rear, that would have been the game, so I think it was still the right decision. Alright, so into combat again, I net myself for the second time. These goblins are supposed to be like elite hunters. I'm starting to like really question that. It didn't matter though, because I challenged out with my champion, which is the very like goblin thing to do. And he has to accept. And yeah, so to everyone's shock, he kills the champion. He only does like 2 wounds to him though, so he doesn't do max overkill or anything like that. And I win overwhelmingly with just all the static res, and I'm getting an additional like flank and super flank. So he breaks, and with swift stride, I run him down no problem. Alright, so goblins turn 3. I decide, screw it. The grotlings are going to charge those Heath Riders into the rear. I'll charge rear, and maybe I do a wound. We'll see what happens. My heroes on the Cave Gnashers start to fly over, just to see if there's something they can do. Everything's kind of out of range for them at this point. My goblins do a swift reform, and I move just right into the face of those Wild Huntsmen. The spider continues to come around here just to force everything to start moving, otherwise they're going to get rear charged. In magic, I get poison off on the goblins. And then because he has wilderness and I'm a goblin, I get to steal his lore attribute, and getting that that spell off, I was able to move my goblins even closer to within an inch of his Wild Huntsman. And then in shooting, I release all of my Mad Gits right into the unit. And I actually roll like very below average. I thought the unit was just going to be completely wiped out. When the dust settles, he does have his one Wild Huntsman guy left. I think it's his champion. The rest of the unit dies horribly, and his character is unscathed. So at least I secured half points, but now I'm really concerned that I'm not going to be able to chase the rest of this unit down, because he should be able to outmaneuver me the rest of the game. Turn 3, Sylvan Elves. We forgot this combat, so we just did it at the beginning of his turn. Yeah, he kills, he does 3 or 4 wounds to my Grotlings. I stay, though. He doesn't kill all of them, and he just reforms. So, didn't go perfectly, but at least they were held up from chaffing other things. The board looks like this. So yeah, he passes his frenzy check. He moves his champion and his character, who are still in a unit together, out of the way, out of harm. The Dryads are now doing an aggressive march towards the flank of my goblins, away from my spider. The archers did the same thing. Sisters of Thorn come around to try to do some magic. The eagle then goes over to chaff up my spider, and the Heath Riders are sitting back, essentially as backup chaff, which was a really good move on Vince's part, because now that spider is just going to be occupied the rest of the game. He does get a big Luminous Bolts off with his magic, and he kills 10 goblins outright with that spell, so well done there. And he puts the lore attribute on the Dryads to give him an extra wound. In shooting, he manages to do 1 wound to my Lord level character on the Cave Nasher, which was impressive. And then, yeah, in combat, the Heath Riders finish off the Grotlings, and they turn to face. Turn 4, Cave Goblins. 2 of my Mad Gits strangle themselves. The other one wanders back through his own unit and kills 5 of my goblins, which is perfect. And then my goblins just turn to face the incoming Dryads. I don't care about his characters too much. The spider charges the eagle. Yep, and there's a picture of the goblins on the hill facing the Dryads that are about to charge into them. And then I initially didn't care about his characters, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want him coming in and picking out characters either. So I flew my hero character out of the unit, and I flew him right in front of those 2 guys, his Wild Huntsman champion and his general. And I'm thinking, he has the Skull Splitter shotgun. I'll shoot it in my phase. I should be able to kill that champion. And then if his hero comes in, maybe if I get lucky, I can live and just hold him up. And then the Lord level character can countercharge. In Magic, I get poison off on the goblins again, which is awesome with the number of attacks that they can put out. And then I get overwhelming power doing Evil Eye onto the Dryads just to try to thin their numbers a little bit. And I get 10 hits with them, and I don't kill any Dryads. It does nothing. Meanwhile, I kill 7 goblins in the blast. So I'm doing an excellent job at helping Vince out, thinning my goblin horde. And then in shooting, I shoot my Skull Splitter shotgun, and I miss with everything. So both of those guys are still alive, and now he's going to die. The spider kills the eagle, no problem. Turn 4 for Sylvan Elves. He charges his 2 characters into my hero. The Dryads charge into the goblins. His mage moves out of the unit and kind of behind the ruins to try to get away from everything. The archers do a reform. Everything else kind of stays. And yeah, his Heath Riders, his backup chaff, go up and chaff my spider again. And he moves his Sisters of the Thorn out of the charge arc of my Lord level character. And he's going to try to shoot at him. And then he wasn't sure what to do with his archers, so he was playing back and forth. And then he decided to have them face the goblins in case anything should go wrong. He gets nothing off in magic. In combat, yeah, he kills my hero character. He did 2 wounds exactly, and I have a 6-up ward save, just couldn't make it, so he dies. In the Dryad Goblin combat, my general challenges, and he accepts with his matriarch. The matriarch takes a wound and does nothing back to my general, so that's nice. And then in combat, yeah, the Dryads have hatred, but I do successfully net them, so they're only strength 3. He manages to kill 5. And with all my attacks and having poison, I kill 5 as well. So I win that combat because I actually had 1 more wound than he did, and I have more ranks and banner BSB, and yeah, he broke, and I ran them down, and I ran past his Heath Riders and his archers. Turn 5 Goblins. I reform with the Goblins, and I just back up a little bit. The Spider is coming around. He really can't do anything at this point, but just to be a presence. I don't take any wounds from shooting with the Lord level character, and he just flies behind his Sisters of the Thorn and the champion and his general just to threaten them and get them to move out towards the center. And that's it. Sylvan Elves turn 5. He moves his mage way out of the way to try to keep her alive. His archers and his Heath Riders move right in front of my goblins, and he positions it so that if I charge the Heath Riders, I can't hit his archers, and the Heath Riders are chaffing them up. So that was a good move on his part. His other Heath Riders actually fled when my spider charged them, so they rallied and they came over to shoot at the goblins. And his Sisters of the Thorn come over to do the same thing. And he moves his 2 characters into the woods behind everything. So he starts shooting. He takes a couple pot shots, kills 1 goblin. Then he continues shooting, and he kills 5 more. And I'm like, okay, that's enough, stop. And he doesn't listen to me at all, and he keeps killing goblins. He kills like another 2. Then he kills another 3. And then finally his shooting ends, and now my unit's actually getting dangerously low to the point where he could get half points for this unit. Turn 6 for goblins. I did something silly. It doesn't really matter because it's a friendly game. I forgot about the objective. I could have just backed them up and sat on the objective, but instead I thought, points! So I charged into the Heath Riders. My spider can't really do anything. And my Lord level character was too far away, so there wasn't much for him to do. I think he tried to charge and he failed. And actually, I take that back. The spider did charge. He charged twice. His Heath Riders fled, and then he tried to charge the flank of the archers, and his archers fled too. So that's why he ended up there. Yep, and there are his units fleeing. In Magic, I do get poison off on the goblins again. And yeah, that's just where the spider ends up after he fails his charges. And I net myself for the 3rd time in combat. And I did lose a cave goblin to Heath Riders. I kill 3 of them, but there's still 1 guy left, which is really annoying. And he breaks, but I can't like try and run him down. So I reform to face the rest of his army in the front. Luckily, the spider is chaffing up his champion. So the only thing that can really charge is either his Sisters of the Thorn or just his general. So I feel good about that. Last turn of the game, Sylvan Elves. His Heath Riders rally, his archers don't, so I will get half points for them. The last Heath Rider in the other unit continues to flee. So he decides to charge his character in. He knows I'm going to challenge out, but at least this way he can kill a character and maybe break the unit. He has a chance, so I thought that was a pretty good move. I think if he charged the Sisters of the Thorn in, that would have been a bad decision, especially with nets on them. Assuming I don't net myself for the 4th time, but his character gets in. He does with shooting 1 wound to the Gargantula. Doesn't matter at this point. So in the combat, the way his character is kitted out is he's lethal on the charge because he gets like +1 strength, +1 attack. He's frenzied. He's on that mount. So I wasn't going to accept it with the BSB. no matter what. It was either the shaman or the general. And my general has a 4-up ward save, so I was like, maybe. But I'm like, you know what? There's no reason to take that risk in case he kills him, in case I roll bad for my ward saves. He could get the whole unit that way. So I gave up Twitch, my shaman, who accepted the challenge, and he whiffed like crazy. Like, it was unbelievable. He, with all of his attacks, did 1 wound to a toughness 3 shaman with no like saves at all. And he was just like beside himself, and like I felt for him. I didn't do any wounds back, obviously, but I was just like, I can't believe he's still standing. And then we remembered he forgot a stomp. So with his stomp, he was able to successfully kill Twitch. So he felt a little better about that. So he did kill the shaman. I think we either tied combat or I won by 1. It was close, but we stuck. Nothing else happened. And that was the end of the game. So it was a Goblin victory, but it was a really close game. I forgot about the objective, but I did get enough points that it was a 13-7 for the Goblins. It was looking really bad in the beginning for the Sylvan Elves, but Vince played very well to conserve the points that he did have and try to catch up and capitalize on points where he could. For the Goblins, the MVP was the Goblin Horde. I mean, they took on Treekin, killed them, overrun, killed the character. They took out the Dryads and the Matriarch. They got half points for the Heath Riders. They were just killing things left and right. And with all of his shooting and all of his attacks and stuff, he couldn't get half points for the unit. I think he was literally like 3 goblins away from getting half points for that unit. The least valuable person was definitely my hero with the Skull Splitter. He, like, with all the shooting that he did, he only killed 1 Wild Huntsman, and he kind of just failed me this game. For Vince, definitely his general, the chief on the wolf, was his MVP. He survived, and he was able to get like some nice points at the end. And if he had rolled better, I actually would have had to take a test. I might have failed combat, and he could have run that whole unit down. So I think that was his MVP. And then if I had to judge for him, his LVP, I would say it's the Treekin, just because they didn't hold. They lost by 3. I think they were leadership 5, but he didn't have a BSB in the army, and they just fled, and that was bad. And Vince, we were talking about this. He said right away as I charged, I should never have had that character leave that unit. And I agree. If that character was in that unit, that Treekin, they would have held. It would have been a different game. But it was a great game, really fun game. Vince and I always have a good time playing. And the Sylvan Elves made a really nice comeback there. But I will leave you this. Since the Sylvan Elves were defeated, what do you call Wood Elf who doesn't lie or cheat or steal? A dead Wood Elf, of course, obviously. Well, that's everything here. Leave comments. Let me know if there's things I can do better, do differently. Any tactics, advice, I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, have fun killing toy soldiers, and I'll see you in the next report.